A transgender woman by the name of DeWanda Johnson was beaten severely by two officers of the Memphis Police Department. She was initially picked up on a prostitution charge, but as the officers discovered she was a transgender woman, they decided to assault her because of her being transgender. For those who does not know what transgender is, that's a man living his life as a woman. One officer held her down while the other officer repeatedly struck Ms. Johnson with a gloved fist and handcuffs over his knuckles, also pepper spraying her in her face. Ms. Johnson stated that as the officer assaulted her, he shouted out anti-gay sayings to her. The two officers were identified as Bridges McRae and James Swain, and the two officers were later fired from the Memphis Police Department. Ms. Johnson decided to bring upon a lawsuit against the city of Memphis, the two officers, and the Memphis Police Department, but she was later found fatality shot in the head in a downtown area of Memphis, Tennessee. I read that story in an article by Robbie Brown. And the reason I shared this story with you all is because I want everybody to be aware that police brutality does exist and it's happening every day in our communities. While standing before you, I will be informing you of what police brutality is, why does it occur, and how it affects the way the community views the police. You may ask the question, what is police brutality? As stated in the book by LaRae Gaines and Roger Miller, police brutality is defined as the use of excessive force, usually physically, but potentially in the form of verbal attacks and psychological intimidation by a police officer. So it is not only physical, but it's also verbal. Excuse me. About 3 months ago, I was dropping my son off at school, and I dropped him off in the front of the school. Usually there's a crossing guard in front of the school, but this particular day there was a police officer directing traffic. So I pulled up in front of the school and he says, "Hey, you can't park there." I said, "Okay." So I pulled down even farther where I know I can park because I parked there before. So he turned around and he yelled, "I said you can't park there." I said, "Why can't I park here? There isn't a no parking sign and I'm not blocking traffic." So this police officer decided to not only walk down where I was at, he left traffic. He stopped, being a crossing guard. So he came down to where I was at and he used a lot of profanity towards me in front of my son. So I couldn't do nothing at the time. I didn't know much about the law at that time. I didn't know too much, and there's nothing I could do at the time. So that was a very good example to me of police brutality. Now that I've told you what police brutality is, I'm going to tell you why does it occur. According to the same book written by Roger Miller and Larry Gaines, police brutality occurs because of police sensuism. Police sensuism is characterized by a rejection of the ideas of truth and justice, the very values that an officer is sworn to uphold. A cynical police officer loses respect for the law. They replace legal rules with those learned in the police subculture, which are believed to be more reflective of reality. This implication for society can be increased in police misconduct, police corruption, and lead to police brutality. I've told you what police brutality is, how it occurs, and now I'm going to share with you the ways that it affects the community, the way the community views the police. I went out and did some research in the community. The only way to find out how they feel is to actually go and ask. So I asked a man by the name of Chester Ashford, how does he feel about police? He stated that he does not like police officers, and he will never call them because they do not help the community, but they cause more harm. Another man by the name of Joshua Claybrook stated that one day the mother of his children and he got into an altercation, and he called the police because she was trying to assault him. But when police arrived, they treated him bad and charged him with assault. Later, the charges were dropped. But he feels like if he never would have called the police, he would have never experienced how it felt to be even in jail, to even have your finger roll across. So he said police officers are also criminals. So you see, because of police brutality, the community is not able to trust the police or even call them at times when they're supposed to. Police brutality has really damaged the outlook of the good officers. No one knows when to call the police or what police officer is going to show up. Now that I've shared with you what police brutality is, how it occurs, and the way it affects the community, you have the information you need to know what's going on right in the communities where we live, where we once lived, or where we know somebody that lives. In conclusion, every police officer is not a bad officer. Every police officer is not a good officer. Just be mindful that police brutality does exist and is happening every day around us.